What's up, everybody? How's it going out there? In this video I'm going to show you how to make some homemade dog food, and I'm pretty much doing this because my dog is very finicky. Sometimes she'll go days without eating and stuff like that, and it doesn't matter what kind of food you give her, she just won't eat. But I've got to give her some worm medicine, and it's basically something that they have to eat, so I have to make sure whatever I put this worm stuff on, she eats it quickly. And she'll eat human food, no problem, no problem. But like any time of dog food or anything like that, for some reason she just completely avoids it. And it's probably because when she was very young, her first owner probably was giving her human food and she got used to it, got a taste for it, and she's just holding out now. So what I'm going to do is, got my pan here, and I'm going to put just a little bit of olive oil in here, not too much. Something along those lines, which is maybe a tablespoon or something along those lines. Now, this dog food recipe is enough to make days and days and days worth of food, and it's really cheap. All of this was under $10 that I've got here. And you can always add more stuff, right? But this, I'm not trying to make this like a normal staple of her diet. Now, what I did is I went ahead and I just found the cheapest meat that I could find with the highest amount of protein and the lowest amount of fat, beef heart, $1.50, and I ended up getting close to about 3 pounds of that. Okay, as soon as I brought it into the house, man, she was smelling this and she was going after it, so I already know she's gonna like it. I got some long grain brown rice. I got this for about 67 cents. I bought some generic peas, same thing, about 67 cents. Generic carrots, a little bit of spinach. I'm going to look in the freezer and see if I have any old broccoli or kale or something like that that I can also add to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this heart and I'm going to cut it up into small pieces. Okay, and basically just take this and pair of scissors, and we're just going to end up cutting this into a bunch of little pieces. And I'm going to kind of, the way that I'm going to cook this is going to be kind of interesting, because it's definitely not the way that you would cook something for human beings. But technically a human could easily eat this. You know, I just don't think that it would probably be the best food. But for a dog, I think she's going to end up liking this. Okay, so I'm just going to keep cutting this up. There's one thing about dog food, though, and that is you can't really put a whole hell of a lot of salt or anything in it, because dogs have a different requirement for salt. Huh. My dog is looking at me right now, cutting up this beef heart. What? What you looking at? Hmm? Don't worry, you're going to get some of this soon enough with some worm food. Also, what's good about this stuff is you can freeze it. And then just, you know, when you're getting ready to feed them, like the next day, you just take it out of the freezer and you just put it individually, like in Ziploc bags or whatever. And then just, you can microwave it if you need to. But this is going to make plenty. You'll see that I could have probably just got away with just 1 pound of beef heart. But what I'm going to try to do with this is, not only am I going to do my worm food, or I should say my worm medication, but what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to start incorporating a dry food into this, and slowly just keep changing the ratio of it until it turns to almost all dry food, and then maybe she'll start getting used to eating the dry food. You know, my wife still feeds her stuff that I don't think she should feed her, and I think it's kind of spoiled her. And human food does taste better than dog food, and dogs know it. And you know, if you sit there and you feed them that, after a while, they're not going to want to eat dog food. They'll hold out, literally starve themselves to death until they get the human food, and they'll start whining and acting like, You know, the food you give them is horrible and they're starving, and dogs know how to manipulate their owners. I think I'm going to stop after 2 pounds of this because this is a lot. If I don't, this is going to end up being like a lot, you know. But also you can use a slow cooker or like a crappy rice cooker to cook all this. It'll work. You don't have to use anything fancy. After all, it's just dog food, right? So now we're going to go ahead and fry this up a little bit. I have that on medium-high heat. I'm just going to brown it up a little bit. As soon as the browning is done, I'm going to open up the spinach, the carrots, and the peas, and I'm going to dump the juice inside there. I'm not going to throw the juice away because I'm going to use some of that juice for my rice. So this rice has more flavor than just plain rice. It'll have the flavors of these. So just brown up this heart or cheap meat. You can use turkey, you can use chicken, you can use anything. Just the cheapest meat you can find. And even though some dogs they can eat fish, try to avoid giving them too much of it. If you want, you can put squash in this, zucchini, sweet potato. Sweet potato is another thing that you can put in there. Regular potatoes, I would limit or not put too much in there. You need to make sure that you know what dogs can eat and what they can't eat, because there are some things that if you give a dog, you know, you can give them kidney failure and all sorts of stuff. So just be careful about what you add. Make sure that you know what's poisonous to dogs. For instance, you might say, hey, I want to put some beef broth in this. That could be a major mistake, because a lot of times beef broth has things like onions in it, right, or garlic, and you can't give dogs onions or garlic. You know, quick list, you know, don't give them things like avocados, don't give them onions, don't give them garlic, never give them grapes or raisins. Don't give them chocolate, right? I mean, there's a bunch of things you don't want to give them. Never give them bones, like chicken bones. I mean, obviously a big beef bone or something is okay, but there's some bones that will break up and splinter, and then they'll swallow them and it'll get caught in their intestinal tract and stuff. So now, if you have a bone, right, like a big beef bone, and you want to boil it and you want to extract that marrow and that flavor out, you can do that. You know, you can ask the butcher if they have just some spare bones that you can boil in this, and just take the bone out after a while and make your own. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's a good idea. This smells kind of gamey. She's very interested in what I'm cooking. She keeps looking at me and running in here and smelling and looking, so she's interested in this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the generic carrots, and I'm going to pour the liquid from the carrots in here. I'm going to do the same thing with the sweet peas. If you get a pea or two in there, it's not a big deal. There's usually not too much juice from the spinach, but I'm going to try to put some spinach juice in here too. I'm going to put a little bit more water in this, and I'm going to boil it, then I'm going to throw my rice in there. Now, you might ask yourself, why in the hell would I want to make my own dog food? Well, sometimes a dog gets sick, right? Like if they end up getting diarrhea, right? So what you do is you give them a really bland diet of just like rice and chicken. And that rice will help absorb a lot of that moisture that's in their belly and stuff. Don't give them too much, obviously, because it can constipate them. And also, you know, dogs have different nutritional needs than human beings. So I I would also suggest like getting online and looking at other people's recipes for dog food, kind of see what works for them. But you're going to see that it's typically pretty much the same stuff all the time. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll take some of this, because this is for me, but it's just chicken, right? It's just chicken, and I have to read everything because of my food allergies and intolerances. But this has got water in it, and she loves the water that's in here. So sometimes the dry food, I'll just take some of this and I'll pour some of the water on there and then like stir it up, and then she'll eat the dry food then. Every time that I grow my garden, she always ends up eating a bunch of my kale, so much that she starts getting diarrhea. That's why I have to give her rice. But another thing that she'll eat is my collard greens, and these are really cheap. I got these once again. I got these at Walmart, I think, for like 69 cents or something. The only thing that's in there is collard greens and water. So I'm going to put some of these inside this too. You'd be surprised on how many vegetables dogs can eat. Just make sure you look into it before you start just adding things, assuming just because you like it, the dog's going to like it. Because there are some things, for whatever reason, dogs just can't have them without getting incredibly sick, or sometimes it just kills them. So make sure you know. Now, I know that the stuff that I'm making here is going to be just fine, right? And like I said, once again, sweet potato is another good to go thing. Sweet potato would be a good. Just if you're getting cans of stuff, always read the back and make sure that there's no like onion powder or whatever in it. If you want to add fruits to this, there's some fruits you have to avoid, like grapes and raisins and stuff, but my dog loves apples. So you just make sure that you take the core out, because you don't want to give her any of the seeds. They're more sensitive to seeds than we are. But you can cut up an apple and you can throw it in here too to give it a little bit of sweetness. As soon as this comes to a boil, I'm going to throw my rice in. I'm not going to rinse my rice, like we ordinarily would for our own rice, to take the extra starch out. I don't even care about that. It's dog food. Now, if you want to, you can add more water to this, maybe like almost double the amount of water, and then boil it for a really long time. So these cheap pieces of meat, these tough pieces of meat, become very tender. You'll probably be cooking it for 2 to 3 hours at least, right? But it'll make it where it's a lot more tender. I don't really see the need for that. I think that she likes to have things that has a little bit more bite and chewiness to it. So a nice chunk of beef heart, I think, is going to be okay. So we're kind of getting up to that point of a little bit of boilage. And I probably put about 2.5 cups, maybe 3 cups of water in there. So that's what I'm going to go by as far as this brown rice goes. And whatever she doesn't eat, my wife will, because my wife likes eating rice. So typically I think it's a 2-to-1 ratio for rice, if I'm not mistaken. When it comes to brown rice, it usually is a little bit more water than that. So if I put a 1/2 cup, and then, let me see, so I'm going to put 3/4 of a cup of rice in here. And that might be enough. You can always follow the recipe and stuff, that's on the back of the rice container if you want. I think 3/4. Well, you know something? I'm going to add another 1/4. I can always add more water. There we go. That's probably enough. A lot of people think that dogs only like meat, like they only like protein. They do, but they also like vegetables a lot too. They like vegetables more than your children do. My dog loves broccoli, like anything from the broccoli family. Man, but kale is her favorite. She just will eat every one of my damn kale plants. So I have to put them in places that she can't get to. You also want to avoid meats that have a lot of fat, right? Too much fat for a dog will give it like pancreas problems. So be careful of that. I think it'll give it pancreatitis. People have been watching too many cartoons and stuff where the dog's always got like a ham or something, so they think that all you do is feed them meat and stuff and bones and fat, and that's totally not the case. Dogs are actually some of the most healthy eaters there are when they're not eating their own shit or eating grass. So let's go ahead and let this boil for a while. You can put a lid on it. I'm not going to really worry about it. I'm just going to keep cooking it until the rice is tender and it's about right. And you know something? You can taste this. You don't have to worry. Is it dog food? Yeah, but you can taste it and tell if there's something that's not right about it. If it tastes good to you, it's going to taste good to the dog. Okay? But once again, be careful of that salt. You know, you don't want to put too much salt. Don't be putting pepper and stuff like that. There's no reason to go too much seasoning on any of this. Okay, so this has been on low for a while, and you can see that it's pretty much absorbed most of the water. So now I'm going to start adding my vegetables to this. That's actually probably enough. I don't think I'm going to put the collards in there. I think this is going to be enough, especially with all that spinach. Hopefully she doesn't get too much of a liking for spinach, or she's going to eat all of that in my garden as well. But I'm going to continue cooking this, and after I know that these vegetables have been kind of cooked in there and some of that flavor has absorbed into that rice, because there's not much moisture left. Most of the moisture in the bottom of the pan has been absorbed by the rice. Let me just kind of stir it up a little bit. I think I'm going to call this good. I don't think I'm going to put collards in here. And from here, I'm going to turn the fire off, and I'm going to let this just set and cool off. And then as soon as it's done cooling off, I'm going to go ahead and mix my worm food with it and put it in her bowl, and see how well she goes for it. I suspect she's going to gobble this down like she's never eaten before in her life. And you can see that for my dog, she's about 50 pounds. Maybe 1.5 of these is probably enough for a meal, right? So when you sit back and you look at how much there is here, you know, this is enough dog food to last you probably really close to a week almost, depending on the size of your dog. And it was less than $10, right? So I'm going to put this to the side, let it cool off, and then we'll test it. It's already been cooled, and I'm going to put a scoop of this because she had a bowl of this earlier with her worm food, but you can see that she's excited about it. And she's one of the most finicky eaters you'll ever find. So what do you think? Was that good? Huh? Was that good? Got an empty bowl. You must have liked that. You ate worm stuff. You don't even know about it. But there you go. And she's finicky as hell. So that's how you go about doing it, Ming. So anyway, guys, till next time. Talk to you later.